Hi, I'm Michelle, and I want to talk about music and psychological well-being. I choose this topic because I think music has quite popularity and presence. It's had presence in short videos, it's had presence in musical theater, it has presence in films, and a lot of us listen to music while exercising, studying, and working. And music therapy has growing popularity, and a lot of people listen to lo-fi music, classical music, or traditional music while doing yoga and meditation. And also, music has been appeared in human history for a long time, starting from the bird-born flutes that has been unearthed in German caves 35 years ago. Probably will discover something that is even earlier in later time. And also at the same time, music is also close related to other arts. It has presence in musical theater, in films, in dance, and also it can be in games and in a lot of other things. And as a result, I choose the paper by Professor Crum, Music, Neuroscience, and the Psychology of Wellbeing, PASI. And it uses the PERMA framework, which is introduced by Seligman. It stands for Positive Emotion, Engagement, Relationship, Meaning, and Accomplishments. In the essay, it defines music to be something that is temporarily patterned human activities, which is both individually and socially that involve the production and perception of sound. It's important that it is individually and socially because we're going to talk about relationship, meaning, and accomplishments related to music, which needs that to be socially as well. And since it has present in evolutionary history, so music is believed that it's something that satisfies the stimuli, the expectation stimuli. So we need anticipation and prediction for the future, and we hope those anticipation and prediction can be fulfilled because we can regulate the energy, we can be alert, and we can make good plans to protect ourselves and sustain ourselves with the minimum energy. And we have different responses developed by our evolutionary history. We have the reactional responses and the appraisal responses. Reactional responses are the shorter one, the appraisal and the more considerate ones, and the appraisal responses contain primary appraisals and cognitive appraisals. The mix of different responses makes the emotional experience quite variable and complex, and as a result, music gives us quite complex and different emotions. And it can give us pride, comfort, or happiness, or probably sadness, but we are going to talk about later what it is really like. And those emotions can be created by different tonal-rhythmic events that has been presented in music, such as the tragedy can be invoked by the minor chord, suspense can be invoked by the diminished seventh chord, and etc. And we have different really important tonal-rhythmic events, which if we want to explore them deeper, we can do experiments with music with different characteristics, such as the continuity of intervals, or those that are grouped by symmetry, similarity, and proximity. And also, even we can have similar response to music, it also depends on different culture. It can be influenced both by the bottom-down and bottom-up and top-down schemas. It is related to different norms we have in society. And those different tonal-rhythmic events, those combinations of them can give us tensions, can give us resolutions, it can thus give us excitement, and also can give us pleasures, and it's related to our expectation for the future as is satisfied by the negative stimuli or positive stimuli. The things that we want to notice is that even it's a sad music, even it gives us negative stimuli, it can still give us pleasure because we expected things to have negative stimuli and expectation be fulfilled. Our nature, hope, our expectation, our anticipation will fulfilled. Thus, it can still make us pleasure, even sad. And we discuss about that later in another essay. And the first part is music and positive emotion. I selected a few evidence, but not all of them because there are a lot. So basically, it can lead to dopamine release, and it can lead to the increase of automatic function. It can help us to regulate the emotions. It can help recovery from the heart surgery, and that can be measured by fMRI, salivary IgA, and heart rate variability correspondingly. And we can also prove that music can let us experience less heart disease caused and results to stress, which is really nice, which also related to immunity that we'll talk about in the later part. And it can be discovered by IL-6, and we can increase oxygen saturation, brain plasticity with different methods. And there are more examples. It is about white matter. We have higher white matter coherence or more structured white matter and more clear representation. And we can discover them by DTI, PET, and MSI technology. And the second part is about music and relationship. So it can increase the oxytocin level, facilitate the joint action of the synchronization, which of the attention because we respond to music that has been played similarly at the same time, response together, and it can increase the probability of mating and increase the commitment of participating events. It connects with others. And also music can improve engagement. And here we have the quotes in Vernal, which are quoted from the famous musician Tchaikovsky and Mozart, which they explain how music can increase the engagement. And also, we also have research that shows that music can block the background noise or just help enhance the performance on concentrated tasks. So we will have high productivity and we will feel really engaged. We will have something they call flow. So it is really the flow give us psychological well-being, and we keep putting efforts, keep thinking, not being interrupted, give us the flow that makes us happy. And also music can give us accomplishments, which COGSCI has also said the music has given accomplishments. And also the engagement, the productivity achieved in the flow, it can also make us feel accomplished. And also the relationship with people, if we have our individual role in group, that we can really express ourselves and prove our value, we feel that we accomplish. And if we appear confidently and gracefully when we want to make a performance that is successful, we feel accomplished. When we master something and we feel accomplished, and people feel it is really nice to master those things. Those positive comments can also make us really feel accomplished, give us positive feelings. And at the same time, it is also related to meaning. If we accomplish something, if we have good relationship, if we engage in things deeply and always constantly steady efforts, we feel life is meaningful. At the same time, the audience who hear different people performing will also feel happy, and the performer will feel accomplished because we make something that is greater than our own good. Our own identity can be connected with the world, that we really feel this meaning of our life with the world, with the people, with everything. As a result, music can be proved to influence us in our PERMA. As a result, it can bring us psychological well-being. This is a risk of the physical risk and psychosomatic symptoms because of over-demanding practice or performance anxiety, but we also have problems. We have solution to them, and now people are paying attention to them. That's good. And in the second part, it's about the individual researcher-related content and select the pleasures of that music, a systematic review, music practice and participation for psychological well-being, a review of how music influences PERMA, and also the neurochemistry of music. So for the first, the pleasure of sad music, a systematic review, it basically talks about how sad music can also make us feel happy. And it has already been introduced in prompt that if our expectation for negative stimuli is satisfied by the negative stimuli, then we feel pleasure. And also in the paper, the author summarize and believe that there are three elements that is important for music to make us happy, even when the music itself is sad, is that it needs to be perceived as non-threatening, it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, and also it produces psychological benefits such as mood regulation and aesthetic feeling. And I believe those things are related to what has been discussed as positive emotion in Crump's paper. And it talks about the prevalent presence of the sad elements in both different kinds of arts that's not music, and also in music such as classical music, folk music, and pop songs. And we have different emotions, and sadness is one of the basic ones. And how to define that? We want to define that because if sad music can make us happy, then what is really sad? It can be something that is perceived as loss, like loss of a loved one, or a health situation, or a loss of the relationship. And it can also be defined by the complex bodily and neutral states of low energy, social withdrawal, low self-worthiness, and also a sense of limitation of horizon of the future. It can also be defined by different Tonal-Rhythmic events, such as low overall pitch, slower tempo, dew and darkness timbers, by those kinds of things. It can also be defined by no balance and low arousal or sad emotion they describe when listening. For the audience who listen to this, it's sad, or it can trigger memories of the people by lyrics and etc. And to analyze that, three perspectives are presented: the tragedy, paradox, neuroscience perspective, and also the clinical implications of pleasurable responses to sad music. So for the tragedy paradox, they have two views. There are the views by the cognitivists and also emotivists. So cognitivists believe that music does not evoke real emotion, but the more popular one is the emotivist, that music does not induce real emotions in the listeners, but music sadness does induce. But music sadness does not equal to life sadness. There are certain conditions that has not been satisfied for feeling the life sadness from music. There's not really the genuine sadness, but it's inherently rewarding because the catharsis, apprehending expressions, severing feelings, understanding feelings, emotional assurance, emotional resolution, and etc. And those rewarding can also kind of more or less be characterized to positive emotion, or understanding feeling and emotional community can be characterized to relationship in PERMA, if we want to continue to use the PERMA framework. And because we perceive some music as aesthetically important, as a result, we don't really perceive them as sad or threatening to make us feel genuine sad. And also the collecting hormone believe it is something that involved because we enjoy the sad music. And we also have Jocelyn's model, and we can first explore those models to see what is happy, what is sad really. So what is perceived is not the same as what is feared probably. We can explore them by neuroimaging or the other features. And although it can give us enjoyment from sad music, it can probably really make us sad, and it depends on the mood and social context and the personality. And as a result, we can use those different technology to really experiment with them. And also we can really need to consider about the aesthetical judgments. And yeah, those are the things that we can really explore and technology we want to use. And it depends on the individual, which always need to be considered culturally influenced, and the personality traits, and whether they're patients or not, whether they're musician or not, should be considered. And it's better to compare all of the facts to really get to know music. It's exciting, but it's complicated. And for the second essay by Chrome, it basically is kind of similar as a supplementary, and it talks about more experiments of different subjects. And the previous essay is also talking about several series. And it basically explains that how PERMA is important to psychological well-being and how musical practice and participation can contribute to PERMA and thus contribute to psychological well-being. I'm not going to talk about that in details again, but I've tried to collect the mind map of all those evidence. It's just so complicated, so I wouldn't show here. It takes a lot of time. And the third is about the neurochemistry of music. And basically, it talks about how music can give us both psychological and physical well-being by giving us rewards. Because of benefiting the system of rewards, stress and arousal, immunity, and social affiliation, which has also been talking from. And social affiliation is considered to be relationship aspects, but first three can be considered to be positive emotion aspects, and they can be tested with those chemicals reward such as dopamine and opiates, social affiliation such as oxytocin. And it's again, it emphasizes that it depends on individual, it depends on how we intervene and different types of music. It's really interesting to saw them, and we can see it employed PET and fMRI, and we have different participants, but the sample size is a bit small. We have different conditions. It doesn't really have a direct comparison between different participants, it seems, but those participants are kind of participants from different experiments. So we hope that we can have more experiments that directly compare different subjects of different characteristics. And we can see here we have different kinds of patients to test those three details: stress, arousal, immunity, and social affiliation. And it shows that music can really improve our health and both mentally and physically, but we need to consider more aspects, more things that might be confounding variables. And the third part is synthesizing my knowledge about my selected topics. So first is, it talks about when expectations are met by music stimuli, no matter it's positive or negative, we feel happy. But what if the expectation could not be met by music? What if the music is really unexpected? Like when we have the literature, we have the movie, usually things are made to be really creative when it just becomes really unexpected and make us really sad if it's a tragic expectation. What about music? If it's a tragic expectation, would that really make us feel really sad actually? And also, most of the things, if been talking a PERMA model, it's talk about positive emotion relationship. But the second essay almost all talk about the positive emotion aspects. The third essay only talk about social affiliation, which is kind of exactly what has been presented in relationship section. But for the meaning, engagement, and accomplishment, the first step more or less kind of similar. And second, we do not really know clearly like how what chemicals, what brain region really respond to them. What can really prove that, yeah, those things are really important in music. They are separate things, or probably they're actually the same thing that can be categorized into the positive emotion relationship. It's hard. So those three aspects needs probably more investigation. It's like more experiments and neuroimaging. And also, it's interesting to discuss about different basic emotions. What about fear, disgust, anger, and surprise? We can use different tonal-rhythmic events to let the audience to really feel them, to let audience of different condition to really consider about them. And as a result, it can probably help the music therapy to be more creative, more useful. We can use different rhythmic elements, including music and different types of music to really improve the health condition of people. And also, as I mentioned before, I feel like it lacks a direct impact between like healthy people and patients of different kinds, or like passive listeners and active performance, non-musicians and professional musicians, people from different cultures and people of different ages and generations, how music influences different people differently. And could passive listeners also actually meet all five aspects of PERMA? Because I feel like for the last three aspects of PERMA, it requires people to better be an active performer in a band or orchestra and be a professional musician, so they can really be confirmed, that they can really present it to have the accomplishment and everything. What about a person who's just an amateur listening to music while doing the assignments and while exercising in the gym? And what about people of different culture, people of different ages and generation? And also, an interesting thing that I want to try is probably it's better to see music in different media, in movies, music theater, dance, shop videos, and games, and etc. What about those things that originally have music and music play a big part suddenly do not have music? How much things does music really enhance, really also really creates new feelings? And yeah, why do we really have music if we're missing them? What are the changes? What are the expectations for the plot will change? What about if music mismatch the scene or match the scene? What about music by a bad composer and a good composer? And also the same music for different things, was the music feel different? And also for the different music for the same thing, was the music also feel different or the same? Because of, or will the thing feel the same? Will we have different expectations for what the thing is going to be the next? And how would that change our experience of watching the film? And also, why different people like different genres, different tonal-rhythmic events probably, and why it depends on regions, depends on generations and everything. Is that most culturally dependent, or is that something fundamentally in our brain that really changes things? Does familiarity with certain music changes things, or does our requirements of concentration, everything changes the genre, how those different genre can influence differently psychologically? Do they have similar tonal-rhythmic events and everything. I feel like it's really interesting to explore, but at the same time, there are so many confounding variables. There are a lot of unexpected confounding variables, which makes it really hard, but it's interesting. You have a lot of things to explore. As a result, I just feel this topic really interesting, and I wish I can also explore more in the future. And I also like continue to listen to music a lot. Thank you a lot.